All right, you're going to want to sit down for this one. We are talking about a discovery that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it is very, very real. And what's wild is that it was all conceived and tested by just one researcher. It's something that completely flips our understanding of DNA, of identity, and of the code of life itself. I know, it sounds like some kind of weird philosophical riddle, right? But this is the central question at the very heart of this whole thing. It's a paradox that didn't come from a thought experiment, but from a real-life genetic database. And there it is, right from the source. That's the researcher herself, Victoria Kaiser-Cooney, basically saying she was shocked by her own results. She created a ghost in the machine, and the machine turned around and said, "Hey, I know your family." So how in the world is that even possible? Okay, so let's start with the experiment itself and the absolutely mind-bending results that came back. This is the moment where a purely theoretical idea came crashing right into reality. The setup was just so clever. Kaiser-Cooney took a real human genome file, her own actually, and then used a computer program to create a totally new, completely artificial DNA profile. Then she just uploaded this synthetic file to some of those popular DNA databases, the ones millions of us use to build our family trees. And the results were, wow. The artificial profile wasn't flagged or rejected. Nope. The databases found that it shared up to 30% of its DNA with real living people. It started finding relatives, nephews, half-siblings, all for a person who was literally just code on a computer. So the big question is, how did she make this ghost? And that leads us right to the method, the ingenious and kind of unsettling process she used to create this genetic phantom. Now, this is the part that just blows my mind. This whole breakthrough, from that first spark of an idea to the complex science to the final shocking discovery, was all the work of one person. This wasn't some huge funded lab. This was a single geneticist pushing the absolute boundaries of what we thought was possible. The core idea here is something called genomic inversion. Now, don't think of it as random changes or mutations. Think of it more like a systematic, logical rewrite of the entire genetic code. It's not a typo in the book of life. It's a whole new edition, just written in a mirror. And the process itself is almost shockingly simple. You just swap the letters. Every adenine, or A, becomes a guanine, G, and every G becomes an A. Same thing for cytosine and thymine. C becomes T, and T becomes C. Across the entire genome, billions of letters, everything is systematically flipped. And what you're left with is a mirror genome, a perfect inverted reflection of the original. So this really simple-sounding swap, it turns out, it has some massive consequences. It basically exposes a huge vulnerability in the very systems we trust to protect our most basic biological info. So why did this even work? Well, it's because these databases, they're not looking for a perfect letter-by-letter match. Their algorithms are designed to scan for long, shared segments of DNA to see if you're related to someone. And the mirror genome, even though it was totally transformed, it kept enough of its original structure that it tricked the algorithms into seeing a family resemblance that just wasn't there. And just look at this. On the left, you've got the ancestry map for the original real person. But on the right, that's the ancestry map for their non-existent mirror twin. The databases didn't just accept the fake profile, they gave it its own unique genetic history. This wasn't a glitch. This was, for all intents and purposes, a successful hack of our biological identity. And this is where things get, well, pretty scary. This isn't just some academic curiosity. It means that real genetic identity theft is now a possibility. It opens the door for someone to manipulate forensic evidence or even paternity tests. It makes you question how reliable all of our DNA databases truly are. Okay, so it sounds like a security nightmare, but here's the crazy part. This same paradox could also be an incredible new tool for medicine. So think about it like this. Your real genome tells us how your body works. But this theoretical mirror genome, it can tell us which parts of your DNA are absolutely essential and why. If you invert a gene and it suddenly stops making sense biologically, you know that specific sequence is critical. It's like having a perfect control group for a single person's DNA. And the potential here, it is huge. We're talking about creating digital genetic twins to test how a patient might react to a new drug, all without any physical risk. We could find hidden mutations that cause disease, make gene therapies like CRISPR more precise, and just uncover secrets about our own biology that have been right in front of us this whole time. So let's zoom out a bit, because this discovery goes way beyond the lab and starts to poke at some really deep philosophical questions that we now have to face. I mean, the simple fact that you can systematically invert an entire human genome and have a computer still read it and interpret it as human, that tells us the rules of life are so much more flexible than we ever thought. The code we assumed was so rigid is actually surprisingly adaptable. And really, that's the question this whole thing leaves us with. For decades, we've been told our DNA is this unchanging blueprint for who we are. But if that blueprint can be put in a mirror, completely inverted, and still be recognized as one of us, what does that really mean for our identity? It's a question we're only just beginning to figure out how to answer.